Hey, what is up guys? So today we're going to be doing a deck profile on one of the best decks and best archetypes to come out into the game. And everyone has been talking about how broken the deck is, and honestly on DevPro, if you're in the high ranked section, which I'm doing right now, pretty much a lot of the higher rated players are playing this deck because it is absolutely too strong. And some decks, as soon as this card gets dropped, they quit because they have literally zero things in their entire deck that can actually deal with the killer. So that's basically how the deck works, is once this monster is dropped, unless you're playing against some obscure deck that can, main deck a Cyber Dragon or something like that, you're going to have a very favorable and very easy matchup as long as you just drop this card. At that point, most decks just fold, like I said. And this deck is also designed to beat the mirror match and get this card out as quickly as possible, and I'll explain all the choices as we go along. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first off, we're playing 3 killer. There's 27 cards in the deck, which basically just try to get this card out. The other 13 cards in the deck are basically, well, 3 copies of course of itself, and the other cards are basically cards that try to secure your victory by allowing you to actually get this card out, because Bottomless Trap Hole or Torrential can ruin your cards coming out in the first place to not be able to special summon killer. But for the most part, these basically are used for the mirror match. This card is so good in the mirror match. There's sometimes we can get up this card to absurd amounts of attacks, and I'll be doing, I guess, some videos if you guys want. Let me know if you guys want, but so many duels, I drop this card and people quit, and I don't blame them for that. I already have one up, but it's basically the same concept. You summon this card first turn, or within the first 3 turns, majority of the time in this build, you will be able to get it out. The deck basically loses to decks that can basically MST or get rid of your stuff before you can actually summon the killer. So I've designed this to be as fast as possible. So next up, we're playing 3 of the Tool. This card is used in the deck because it's basically what the heart and soul of the deck is. You have to have this card because this card allows you to have a 1 card complete pendulum scale, and if you happen to have the cat, you can even do more OP things like bounce this card back, search again, and then being able to special summon other things other than Apoqliphoth monsters. The downside to the deck was supposed to be that you can only go for the Apoqliphoth archetype monsters, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to bounce this card back to your hand after you pendulum summon, so you're going to have all of your monsters out. Then you can go for some of your rank 4 plays, and I'll explain why I'm playing some of these later on. But basically, you need this card as quickly as possible, and a lot of cards are designed to actually draw this card as quickly as possible, or add it to your hand. I decided to play every copy of the Apoqliphoth monster, just because, I mean, some of them aren't that great. Honestly, this card is, the shell is probably not seeing too much play already. Most players run 1 or none of the shell, and some only play a few of the disc, but I decided to play triple copies of each Apoqliphoth because all I want to do is just drop this card. If I drop this card, especially in mirror match, what I've noticed, I should actually upload some of the mirror matches, but basically what happens is both players try to get out this card as quickly as possible, because once this card comes out, a lot of times in mirror match, if you don't know what you're playing against, sometimes they'll just try to make a scale. Like, they'll go for their pendulum scale, and then they'll throw out monsters so they, don't get OTK'd essentially, because this deck can definitely lose to OTKs because it doesn't have any back row. Some players decide to go for the back row. I'll explain why I'm not playing any back row or any protection in a moment, but basically it comes down to just, I want the deck to be as fast as possible. Once I drop this card, I don't care about protecting it because it protects itself, basically. So, they'll complete their scale, and then if I'm able to just drop this card, they just lose. And mirror match, a lot of times you'll try to battle the killers, but if you can get out your killer when they already have their scale and you blow up everything, you bounce back stuff, you essentially just win that duel anyway. So being able to just have all the monsters and just drop it as quickly as possible is very key in the deck. This one is really mediocre for its effect. There's ones where you can destroy a spell or trap, and there's one where you can actually summon 2, which is actually a really good effect. This one's actually relatively useful in this build. Then there's Archive, which makes it so you can target 1 monster on the field and you can return it to the hand. Not a bad card at all. And there's also 1 random Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and then I play 2 of the Trampling Cats just to be able to not only complete my scale, and you can also use this card to complete your scale, don't forget about that, but I really thought about playing 3 cats, but I'm like, well, I really need this card. This card is really important in the deck. If you want, you can change the number of the Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragons, you can change the number of the cats. For me, I just like to play 1 Odd Eyes, because a lot of cards search out this card anyways. Like, basically there's 3 copies of itself. You have 3 Summoner's Art, so that's basically 6. Then you have 3 of these which search it out, so that's basically 9, and then there's 10 right here. And I think within, first 3 turns, you should hopefully be able to draw something that adds this card to your hand. There's also 3 Upstart, so if Upstart adds this, or this, there's another chance basically of bringing this card to your hand. So you need this card as quickly as possible, and that's why you play 3 and you play a lot of cards searched out. Next up, I'm playing 3 Upstart upstart, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, healing your opponent doesn't even matter. At one point, I was playing Cup of Ace, because I was like, well, if I just Cup of Ace, I was even using Cup of Ace in a rank, like, what a good idea, right? And no joke, it works sometimes. It's like 50-50 chance, but like, if you drop this card, unless you're playing Mirror Match, you're gonna have a pretty good time, unless, of course, they made like Cyber Dragon, or they're playing something that's like Final Countdown, where they don't care about attacking anyways, or, you know, they're just basically have another mechanic of winning, other than just trying to get rid of your monsters and stuff like that. And I play 3 Summoners Art. Yes, it is dead after you go for these, but that's why this card is like $5,000 right now. This card is just, it searches out this. That's all it does. But it works. And then we play 3 copies of Apoqliphoth Sacrifice. I love playing 3 copies of this card. I don't know why some people only play like 1 or 2. This card's insane. I mean, it basically allows you to stall also if you happen to have a bad hand. You can normal summon the Apoqliphoth monster, equip it to it. Sometimes they don't want to get rid of it, so they're just like, oh, I'm not going to attack it. I'll think of a way to get rid of it. And by that time, it doesn't matter. You've already been able to get out your killer, and you just win anyways. And this card has 2 effects. Actually, it basically has 3. So it makes the monster gain 300 attack, which is not bad at all. Sometimes you need it to run over certain things. The monster can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute to summon a monster, which is also good. And the monster can't be destroyed by battle, which is also really awesome. Alright, never mind, it has 4 effects. My bad, it's even better than I thought. But the main effect that you use this for is, of course, the searching ability, which is if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Apoqliphoth monster from your deck to your hand. Now, that doesn't mean your opponent's card effect. It could be yours, it doesn't matter. Just goes to grave, go ahead and add a Apoqliphoth. I love that. It's really good. I mean, all they need is a reinforcement of the Apoqliphoth, which they already technically have, and this deck is like guaranteed confirmed for tier negative 5,000. So basically, you want to be able to get out this card, and if you equip this to a monster, it just makes your pendulum scales like easier. You don't have to tribute as much. And the last cards over here basically don't really get out this card. They try to help you get out the card, and they're also just draw power. But 3 Night Beam, 3 MST. You could try My Body as a shield. I kind of like that. But I found out a lot of times when I would like just hold that in my hand, getting this card MST sucked. Like, that was a problem that I had. Bottomless also hurts. Oh, also one thing that is really important for ruling. In the TCG, this is how it is going to be ruled, and I have already talked to people at Konami for this. In the TCG, you cannot activate Solemn Warning when someone goes for a pendulum scale and they go for their play of going for more than 1 pendulum monster. So that means if I have my pendulum scale completed, if I'm going for like 5 monsters, you can't Solemn Warning it. But if I go for 1 monster, you can. I know the rulings, but if that changes, I'll definitely let you guys know. But from what I've been told from people that work there, that is how it is going to be ruled. That you cannot Solemn Warning if they're going for more than 1, which apparently just kind of supports them playing pendulums. Anyways, obviously this deck will lose some like anti-spell fragrance, but that's why you hopefully can draw one of those 3 MSTs. Then we have 3 Karkar D, or 2 Karkar D, sorry. I was playing 3 and then 1 Cyber Dragon, but there's too many players that play this deck. Also, I mean, random Cyber Dragons are not bad at all. Sometimes it just helps you stay alive. Being able to just not only have a monster on board so you can stall, but in the mirror match, this card is like auto win. If they, like I said, a lot of times in mirror match, first turn they'll complete their scale and they'll just throw out a bunch of monsters because they'll be like, oh, my cards will go to the extra deck anyways, I don't care, I'm just going to bring them out again. But you can throw up a monster with a huge amount of attack. Sometimes you can get this like 3,000-4,000, you can get up to 6,000, but majority of the time it's like 3,000 to 4,000. And then if you can complete your pendulum scale, you can just kind of go for game anyways. So that's just one important thing. And especially in mirror match, some people were like, you run Lava Golem and Volcanic Queen. I would just run Cyber Dragon because you get not only do you not lose your summon, but you get a monster with a huge attack anyway. So this card will get rid of Killer. That's basically my out to mirror match is not only do you outspeed them, because I usually can outspeed them unless I draw completely awful, but this just helps out in the mirror match so much. And I know there's 3 here. I just figured maybe there's someone bad that leaves up a Cyber Dragon on board. I mean, for the most part, you don't even really use your extra deck. Majority of the time that I'm using my extra deck is because I'm in a bad spot, but at that point, usually you end up losing the game anyways. And that usually comes down to them MSTing. MSTing, also Spell Shattering Arrow is also a card that can ruin pendulums, but no one really mains the decks that as of now. It's more of a side deck card anyways. But cards I recommend playing. Highly recommend this because screw anything that just attacks you directly. So I was like, I'll just throw in Utopia. It might just come in handy. And I was like, well, you know what? If I'm playing Utopia, I've got extra room. Why not throw out this bad boy over here? Because you never know. I mean, you pay a lot of life points with this card. A lot of times you'll end up paying like, you know, its effect maybe 4 times. So that's a hefty amount. I mean, it's 800 each time. So it adds up, you know, basically is what it comes down to, especially if you go cat bounce back. As far as the reasons why I'm not playing some of these cards, let me go ahead and explain it to you. This card, you drop it, and majority of the time, you will be winning your games because of this card. There is alternate ways to win the deck, and I used to run a limiter, and I loved it for a while, because what I was able to do is I could just like pendulum and then just win anyways. But majority of the time that I had a limiter, it was like a win more card. I was already at advantage. I didn't really need to drop it, and just having the monsters would tactically just stall me to get out this card anyways, which is essentially the win condition. It's like the Judgment Dragon, I guess you could say, of the deck. But you could definitely try out limiter rule and see how you like it. I just like this because it's the most consistent build that I've actually built. If you guys have any suggestions for a more consistent build, I'm totally open to this because I want to see how consistent we can make this deck, because it is honestly very, very consistent. It's usually by turn 3, you're like guaranteed to pull it off. Sometimes you can pull it off turn 1. Most of the times turn 2, like, you should be able to get out turn 2 unless you draw like multiples of these, and at that point you're just going to be able to hopefully secure the ability to drop it successfully anyway. So it's not that bad when you draw these. It's just going to make your play more secure once you're finally able to go for it. If you want, you could drop another Cyber Dragon and put 3 Karkadi just to make it more consistent, but dropped all the traps. I want to make this as fast as possible, and then go for this. This card protects itself, so why would I even need to? I mean, I know I could bottomless a Cyber Dragon or a Torrential, or I can do other things against a Cyber Dragon, but the thing is, once this card comes out, guys, you win the duel in most cases, so you don't really need any back row. It protects itself, and I'd rather just run things like Night Beam and secure the ability to pull this off as quickly as possible. Also was thinking about Wiretap, because there was like sometimes, basically, the Bottomless hurts more than anything. Bottomless is like the card that wrecks you really hard. But Wiretap is also an okay card, but it's just too slow for me. I don't like it playing slow. I built this deck to be as fast as possible. And in the mirror match, a lot of the times, this is what's played in the mirror match almost all the times. These two are very... This card is also kind of popular. You don't have to really worry about this card too much technically in mirror match, because everything usually activates in grave, and you just pop the card anyways with the whatever one pops the spell trap. I usually have to read their effect. They look so similar. They're all just a bunch of shells. It's this one over here. The one that looks like a corn on the cob, Genome, or Genome, you could just pop a Spell Trap, and this activates in the graveyard because once it's attributed, it's kind of like the Heretics, basically, so you're not affected by Skill Tree anyways. The cards that hurt you in a mirror match are going to be these cards anyways, and they usually only have one because they run like Solemn Warning. I know in Solemn Warning on Dev Pro right now, it will stop, multiple pendulums, but like I said, in the TCG, I don't know actually if you switch it to CCG only. Obviously these are all OCG cards anyways, but if these come out in the TCG, I'm not sure if that will change it on Dev Pro, because you can't actually test that. But like I said, if you're going for multiples, pendulums, you can't activate Solemn Warning when they go for multiple monsters. So basically what it comes down to is they're running the one-ofs, and like Compulse, some players play that. I don't think Compulse is very relevant. I mean, it technically can stop you from pulling off this card, but for the most part, in the mirror match, it's Torrential, it's Bottomless. These are the cards that are probably the best, and they're only gonna have like one, and sometimes they'll have like two back row. Sometimes people set these as back rows too, but just to try to scare. But basically what it comes down to is hopefully you'll be able to pop. You'll have one of these, and the other 5 cards will be able to make this. Because that's what it comes down to the majority of the time in this build. But anyways, like I said, guys, if you have any suggestions to make this deck more consistent or how to counter this deck, because honestly, I think Cyber Dragon is the best way. Not only do you not lose your summon because Volcanic Queen and Volcanic kind of ruin those things, but you will get a monster with big attack. You get rid of everything on board, and in Mirror Match, this card is just... It is the card that just wins the game itself. Sometimes you don't even need this. You can absorb as many monsters as you can, and then you're just able to complete your scale, drop a bunch of monsters, and then finish off the game anyways. But like I said, guys, if you guys want to check out the link to download it, and if you guys want, let me know if you guys want duels with this. But like I said, majority of the time it's going to be duels where you drop this within the first 2 or 3 turns and people quit. It doesn't matter how many back row they have, because unaffected by everything. It's like you can't touch this. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Azneyes out.